Hi, and thanks for watching. I'm Erica Stice. Granules have been used in jewelry for centuries, and today I kind of want to show you how to make granules, a really easy way. First of all, I'm going to split this into about 3 parts. One is to use a charcoal block that I have here, and it makes kind of a mold, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The second one I want to talk about is measuring the metal so that you get equal parts, equal size granules. And the third thing I want to talk about is the cleaning and the prepping of the granules after they're heated and rolled up. So, and last but not least, I'll go over attaching the metals together. That'll be at the end. So first of all, let's talk about the charcoal block. Underneath this charcoal block, I have a piece of paper towel because this is very messy. And what I've done with this charcoal block here, we sell these on our website, halstead.com, for about 15 bucks, and they last a good long time. So as long as you have the binding wire around them, because they tend to crack, this will hold them together even if they do crack, and they'll still be one solid charcoal block. So as you can see, I've put holes in this, and you can make holes with any tool you have in your studio. I've used a drill press, I've used needles if I want to make small ones, I've used even the soldering pick. But these holes I can use forever, and I just want to show you really quick. This is a needle nose file, and I'm using the tip of it to make these holes, and this is a soft charcoal block. So I'm just going to go in at a little bit of a distance, at a little bit of depth, and I'm going to make holes like this by just pressing it in and twisting it a little bit. And I've just made 4 holes. It's really quick to do, however it's really dirty. The best thing is to be able to wash it off and let that dry for a while. For right now, I'm going to flip this over and use this side because it's not as dirty. And this side I've already made with multiple holes, as you can see. Now I'm going to move this paper towel out of the way. Make sure you do that. You don't want to have a torch around paper. And I'm going to put these to a side. And I also want to let you know you should probably wear a mask when doing this. This puts out a lot of dust that I'm sure you don't want in your lungs, so it's a good idea to have a mask available while you're cutting out these holes. But once you have them, they're going to last forever. So just be sure you're using the hole size that you want, and you can put them anywhere in your block. So the next thing you want to do is you want to measure out your metal, and you want to do equal amounts if you're doing granules. Now sometimes people do have scattered different sizes on their pieces. However, for this one, I'm just going to show you a couple tricks on measuring your metal so you get equal distances, equal lengths of metal. So punches are a great thing to have around the studio for numerous reasons, but here I have different size punches. And all you have to do is much like making jump rings, is you can use the end of it and you can just wrap your metal around it, and this will give you rings. And if you wrap your metal around it like this, slide it off, and then cut that with like a saw blade, you'll get equal, as long as these are straight, you'll get equal amounts of metal in little ring shapes, and that's fine if you want to do that. You can use a smaller mandrel, you can make bigger holes in your block to fit them. You'll get used to what kind of size metal that you want to use as soon as you find out what granules you like the most on your pieces, what sized. So another way is to use a ruler, and this is the way I usually do it because I don't have a lot of granulation on my pieces at one time. I'll usually have scattered 4 or 5 in little bunches, but you can just take your ruler and mark out the size that you want to do. So right here I'll just mark 1/8 because that makes a pretty good size. That makes a pretty good size granule for me. So I'll mark it out going down to 1/8, and then I'll use my little clippers and I'll cut those out into equal lengths. And these will give me the same size granules every time. And that's what you're aiming for if you're making a piece that you want to be uniform in size. That's the way to do it. Another way you can do it also, if you can also use a scale to weigh out your metal, especially if you're using like scrap metal. This is a great thing to use for scrap, but it, you know, little pieces make pretty big granules. the last thing I wanted to tell you is you can also get some copper wire and take the gauge down in the size of each clip of wire, and you can actually make yourself a board. As long as you take good notes, you can make a board of the different size granule, a visual board that tells you the gauge of wire you used and the length of the wire you used, and then you'll know each and every time by looking at the board what size granule you want to use and how to make that exact size. So that's just another little tip. Now here I'm going to show you how to put the pieces into your charcoal block and use it. So take the pieces that you cut, and just using some tweezers, you just want to drop those into the holes. You want to drop your little metal clips of wire into the holes. That one already rolled out. They kind of stick out right now, but you'll see that they form into little balls inside of each of those little holes that you've made. Now here at Halstead we make a lot of them, and I always suggest to the employees they make more than enough so that if any of them roll away or something happens or they're not quite round when you're done, you have extra. And what we do is we put all of our little extra pieces in a cup, and little cups in around the studio, and that way people could just come and use them if they don't have time to make their own granules. We have some on hand for them. So I'll just heat this up. So I'm using a big torch tip on here. I just want to go as quickly as I can and heat these up. Now this charcoal block gets really hot, and it stays hot too, so you want to be able to put that aside while it cools down. You can see they're already starting to roll up. And yeah, don't be scared of your charcoal block popping and cracking, that's normal. And there you go, you just keep it moving on there until it's formed, then move on to the next one. Okay, they all look around, so I'm going to turn that off now and let them cool down for a minute. After they're cooled down, give them a few minutes, and you can just flip this over and let them roll out. And I have some right here. Now what you'll want to do is you're going to want to clean them off because they're really dirty. So we actually reuse some plastic here, and this is from a plastic top. And we've put holes in the bottom. I hope you can see that. We've put holes in the bottom, and what we'll do is we'll put the granules on this and then place this down into the pickle, and that way it's really hard to dig them out of our big pickle pot, so this kind of helps with that. All you do is place some holes in this black cup and lay them in there, and then drop them very, very carefully down into the pickle. And this is just a little way we kind of sort through ours to get them clean. Let them pickle, rinse them, and then dry them, and you're good to go. And you can go ahead and set your granules. Now, a couple ways to attach your granules is you can fuse them together, and you can do that either using a reducing kiln, or you can fusion weld them using electricity. Here at Halstead we use hard solder. So what we'll do is we'll either sweat solder them onto our piece, or we'll use pallions. So for this piece right here, I just attached 5 little tiny granules to it, And what I did was I heated it from underneath with a solder right here in between the granules. And from heating it underneath, it brought the solder down and it flowed across the piece and the granule stuck. Another way you can do it, that's with pallia, and you can also sweat solder. And sweat soldering is where you have a piece of metal and you place a couple pieces of pallium chips on here. You heat it from underneath. Once it melts, you pull the heat from it. Place your granules on top, reheat it from underneath, and your granules will sink down into that solder and they'll be attached. So there's a couple ways, and you can find videos on how to sweat solder or how to even pick solder on our website on YouTube at Halstead Bead. You can go ahead and check out our YouTube videos there, and hopefully you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.